Happy Monday as the summer comes.
It's finally summer weather today.
Yeah,
Morning, Rob.
good morning. It looks like nobody has plans to change anything for Q3, so nobody's showing up today, huh? We got the Franklin Lakes, Oakland, office here in full representation. So, Patrick, what do you want to see change in Q3?
I
You on the
would say
spot.
it's a great question, Rob. I would say a little bit more consistency out of our team members. We've really been pushing some of our team members to go for some more listings, especially because the buyer rep seems to be few and far between right now. So pushing for listings, and we've been doing a Monday morning Chat GPT AI discussion. So we have that after our meeting, which has been very good so far.
And what are you deploying ChatGPT for in a productive way?
So we've been asking each individual team member to see what they've been using it for. And a lot of them have been using it for the basics like descriptions, scripting, ideas for social media content and the like. This morning, we are going to be going over drip campaigns, which is something that I think ChatGPT is getting better at. And we are going to work on starting to create our own GPTs like Glenn was talking about last Tuesday. So that's next up for our team.
Okay. Chopper, you have anything to add for the Chopper team?
Yeah, no, I could segue from Patrick. Maureen and I have been using the GPT drips, and I'm getting more appointments for listings because we have a big database. It's hard for one person. We got like over 58,000 names and numbers. So it's like always. It's like catching a lobster. It's when you pull a net up. If the lobster's in there, you got them because they've done studies. Lobsters go in and lobsters come out of the trap. It's when you pull the trap up, as if you got the 5 pounder or you got the 1 pounder.
Okay.
Hey,
Let's eat some good lobster.
Rob, Glenn had an interesting GPT about 3 weeks ago about how he does his listing description that doesn't say how many bedrooms or bathrooms. I couldn't find that anywhere. Do you know where that is?
I don't. I would just message him, see if he could share that with you.
Yeah, he said it was on there, but I went over and it's not there.
You could ask you can message Fred, see if you can find it if you'd rather do that.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm just going to share a kind of a belief that I have, which is in general, our industry is not very innovative. I don't think that many people focus on improving their scripts and doing conversations, failing forward. And my belief for that is reinforced by this gentleman here who probably lacks a little bit of confidence, but makes it up in discipline. That's Joe Garcia. He was going on 1 to 2 listing appointments a week, probably setting 2 to 3 a week, going on 1 to 2. And 6 or 7 months ago was probably getting 1 listing done per month if he was lucky. Now he's averaging more than 2 listings per month, and his plan for 2026 is going to be 40 plus closed listings. And to be honest with you, I probably wouldn't bet against him because of his discipline. And calling expires and FSBO is the same thing that everybody else is like, oh, that doesn't work, right? But this kid has a system and he's relentless at follow-up. Okay. They say call back in 2 weeks. He calls back in 10 days. They say, oh, I'm busy. Call back tomorrow. He's calling back tomorrow. Call back tomorrow. Call back again tomorrow, right? Len, do you know, have you met Abe Himmelstein?
I'm sorry. You're asking, yes, I've met Abe.
You've met Abe, right?
Yeah, we sat together at the R4 conference for a few events.
Okay. Abe is not eloquent. Abe is not particularly charismatic on the phone, but he's a freaking bulldog.
I can see that.
And he's an 87-year-old Jewish man that just doesn't give up. And he's managed to procure a few good appointments that probably very few people would have done just out of sheer determination. I think he probably over the top annoys 2/3 of the people. But of the people that aren't annoyed, he's been very effective. He'll probably be averaging 2 recruits per month by the end of the year, which
Great.
is pretty good for a part-timer. So that same philosophy, in my opinion, holds true for your team members, yourself, in terms of calling FSBOs, calling expireds. Like people are announcing things like this, Lynn. Hey, I'm Prime. Call me, right? And out of 10 of those people that are raising their hand, if we get shot down by 5 of them, right, we're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. It hurts, right? It's no good. Because some people are just not going to list, right?
Right.
With an agent, they just believe that, hey, I can sell it on my own. Other people had a bad experience. Other people are bombarded by calls of people who will call once or twice and then never follow up. So these are some of the things I think could really move the needle in this third and fourth quarter. But without prejudicing all of you, what would something that you want to do in Q3 and 4 be, Lynn?
I would like to see more consistency with my team members and them getting out of their comfort zone a lot more than they are now.
And who's on target on your team now to hit their goals?
Caesar.
Huh?
Just Caesar.
Everybody else is behind, right?
Everybody else is behind.
So
But
how do you,
Caesar is a bulldog. He follows up. He doesn't quit. He doesn't take no for an answer.
and how do you change it so that not just the small minority is on target?
That would be the $1 million question. Right now, I mean, Alina is doing great. She's actually, especially, she has set herself a little bit lower goal because she's only her first year. She's gotten some listings. She's closed a couple buyers, but her listings aren't converting yet. Did we just lose? I think we lost Rob. Oh, there he is. I don't know. Right now, I'm challenged a bit, and maybe somebody else on here can help me. I'm challenged a bit with people whose response to me telling them to try something new is, that's just not me. They just need to know the facts. Right? So a lot of what we have to do in this area is social. You have to write the book, Never Eat Alone. You have to be comfortable approaching people you don't know. You have to be able to get involved in something other than what you're already involved in. So for me, I'm in a country club. Everybody here already knows me. So my next step is to join something new where I can meet new people, more people with other connections. I have a challenge getting some of the team members to do that. Follow up, they're fine with.
Well, I think that's because when they're operating in their comfort zone, right? And they don't want to get out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
And that's always going to limit them. Like they'll follow up with somebody who shows interest.
Yes.
But they're not going to do the sales part of their job title, right? They're a salesperson, right? They want to be a consultant where they find people who want to hire them, then they just do a good job of opening doors and showing them pluses and minuses.
Right.
So maybe the solution is look at for the third quarter, what are you doing outside of your comfort zone?
I gave them a challenge where, I mean, I've even tried some of the, you get a gift card, you get dinner, something. If you do something new and it gets you a new connection.
right? What's the minimum standard for your team?
in terms of
I don't like
GCI or production.
production, income, whatever.
So each person has set in their business plan a minimum of what they would like for their GCI, and we met and we went over what was realistic, what was pushing it, what was good to push. Lowest person was executive, and that's because brand new. Other than that, we have a list. I mean, they're supposed to be reaching out to 5 people per day. They're supposed to be meeting with someone they've never met with at least once a week. I'm trying to think what else is on that sheet. Phone calls, texts. We do the ABCs where every day they're supposed to pick a letter in their phone, reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a while, even if it's just to say, hey, how's it going? Heard your kid graduated, whatever.
Okay.
New suggestions.
So this is about a collaboration. I want to see if anybody else has any suggestions before I chime in.
I mean, we've been trying to do some stuff also where we gather together more in person. I think that our team members do collaborate better when they're in person, even if they just hear each other on the phone. Maybe they say, hey, you could have done this better, or you forgot to ask them about that. I think that is a great environment to have people in, which means they maybe need to be in the office a little bit more.
My team is in the office. We meet once a week as a team. In fact, it's after this call every week. And I have team members that go work in the office.
Same, and I'm sure it's the same for you, Lynn, where we have the same team members that come to the office. I'd like to encourage some of our team members maybe that don't show up to show up more.
So Lynn, how about if you had, Mondays, you have your team members follow up on everybody they met at an open house this past weekend or any open house. And for 2 hours, they just follow up on everybody that's in their database with a hashtag open house. On Tuesday, they follow up with all the buyers that they've ever shown a house to find out if they're still in the market or they're dead, right? They're not buying at this point or they bought somewhere else. Wednesday, you can have them, maybe, if they want to call expireds or FSBOs or, they can have basically a routine where each day they're doing something different. Thursday might be, database day, calling everybody in your sphere, right? Friday may be, calls to set up appointments for the weekend, right? That, hey, we have a contest. Who can set up the most showings or appointments for the weekend? But you can create your own cadence of accountability. One thing that I was very impressed with was, we were trying to recruit a lender in Tucson, and the lender worked for a broker, so there was nothing spectacular about it. Anybody could broker loans to that company, but he was extremely loyal because the branch manager or the owner of that company had a cadence where, it was almost like, what do you mean on Tuesdays I don't call my existing pipeline, right? It's like every day they had a particular task that they did, right? So Tuesdays they would connect with everybody that was in their pipeline to make sure they had all the docs, let them know where the appraisal was, let them know the status of everything. Wednesdays was, you'd call all day to make 2 new connections with real estate professionals or attorneys that could refer you business. So every day had a purpose, right? And if I was to tell him after like 4 or 5 years of doing this, well, how about on Wednesdays, you just, go visit real estate agents at broker opens. He'd be like, I can't do that. That's not what we do on Wednesdays. It's like so ingrained in terms of what he did and that structure. Maybe, as team leaders, we can create that where everybody knows on Tuesday what to do, right? And I keep forgetting what the phrase is, but when you switch gears or you don't know what you're doing, there's a tremendous inefficiency, right? I get to the office, I have to think about what am I going to do? Well, guess what? You just wasted 15 minutes, right? If you know every Monday at 9 o'clock I'm doing a team meeting, then that makes life a little bit simpler, right? 8 o'clock, you're preparing for it. But the study that I had heard was that when you switch from doing one thing to another by multitasking, allow you to get yourself interrupted, you can lose as many as 23 minutes getting back into the zone. So if you're making calls, right, and then you get interrupted, then you try to get back into it. It takes you some time, just human nature, to get back in the zone of being efficient, right? So, a suggestion, have a minimum standard, maybe even for better or worse, have everybody, post the results for the week openly as a team,
I do make them do that.
right? And I think one thing that a lot of us are afraid to do is to top grade the team, right? Because you don't know who's gonna, check out, or you don't know who's gonna check in unless you reach out, right?
Do you find that team members do well if you post who's done the most that week? Like, we have private offices, the whole office wouldn't see it. But if we put something on the wall and we just, almost like a leaderboard,
I mean,
do you
I
find
think
they get offended by that? Or do you think they're like, oh no,
so.
I see?
So, Lynn, offend them.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
The people who are offended really don't belong on a team. Like this is not the
Okay.
right business for them, right?
Okay, I like that.
Does anybody disagree with me on that?
No,
I
the
see.
horse race idea is one of the best.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
okay.
And Lynn, I think the first thing is, and everybody on this call, I know I can say for certainty, you're in your position not because you're doing that to make the most possible money. Because I know Chopper could probably make more money by just hiring a few people to be showing agents and listing coordinators, and that would be financially beneficial. But I know that Lynn, you, Chopper, Glenn, like you take an interest in helping people develop, and that's part of the juice we get, right? So one is look at whoever is a lower performer. Hey, let me ask you, first of all, you committed to success in this business, right? Because it's never easy. I mean, you have at least one person that does it part-time, right? They have a full-time job.
I have
And
two,
huh?
three. I have three part-timers.
You have three part-timers, right? So has anybody ever seen a part-timer that has had phenomenal results, like a teacher or a firefighter, a policeman, that's like, top 2% in the business? And you're like, how the hell do they do that when they're part-time? I've seen it. Right? Glenn, you've seen it, right?
Yeah, Tim Taffin's going to do 20 million this year.
And he's go ahead, give the background for him.
He's a two-time Purple Heart Marine, police sergeant, father of three, runs marathons, does Tough Mudders every weekend, and still is going to close $20 million this year. It's insane.
Nice.
Right. So Lynn, there is your case study. There's your example, right, of somebody who, 3 kids, good father, doesn't just live and breathe real estate, has a full-time job, and isn't he committed to like a lot of charitable causes as well?
Oh yeah, tons, especially anything veteran related.
So, and he's going to do $20 million worth of business part-time.
He's going to start a nonprofit for veterans. He's in the process of doing that with me. It's crazy.
Really a slacker.
Right. So I think the point, Lynn, is that either you're committed or you're not, right? And if they're not committed, are we really doing them a favor by letting them hang around, right? At some point there should be, hey, we need to hit this threshold, and then we need to hit this one or this one, or tell me where you want to stop, right? And is that acceptable, right? If you're okay with a, $75,000 GCI person, that's fine, right? But it's really painful for you, and it's almost like a paternal instinct where you want to help them, but they don't want to do the work, right? Or they're not committed.
Right.
So I think those conversations are okay to have. I think it's definitely good to share who's on the leaderboard, right? We don't want to have people follow the loser board, do we?
Right.
So
Like how
anyway,
Chopper called it the horse race.
yeah.
I mean,
Um,
Lynn, if you look over Glenn's behind Glenn, I think Glenn, is that
Yeah.
one of your leaderboards? When you came on, Lynn was talking about the pros and cons of doing a leaderboard. I call it the horse race.
Yeah, this is the points board. So this is like challenges that we put out. On the other screen, on the other side is where we keep the people's stats and their rankings. But this one's like if I have them, I want them to use title or I want them to use a lender, I put out a challenge each month, and if they do X, they get Y and they get up on the board for that. That's what that one is.
Do you do it based on their weekly successes, or do you do like a cumulative? Do you do
All-
it like GCI cumulative or just position?
Well, this one has, well, yeah, it's related to GCI, but it's nothing to do with GCI, I guess the way to put it. This one is points based. So in a month span, they have to do, the number of referrals they give to the lender. If you did 11, you get 1,100 points. And it just aggregates throughout the year for each of the challenges. And we kind of keep the points very similar. For the GCI and volume based ones, the other board keeps that, and that's real time. So literally, they close a deal, you see a deal, and it's on a monthly basis.
Okay, so it's based on their actual closings.
Yep. Yep.
So GCI and, woo, I like the pen. Okay, thank you.
and Glenn, are you afraid to have a conversation with somebody who doesn't fit on the team?
No. Matter of fact, the team's changing quite a bit. We're bringing through 3 new people on, and I'm gonna basically have one go.
How much
And-
warning do you give them?
Good question. This one in particular probably will be a little shocked,
Okay,
so there won't be much mourning. They're happy to. They're welcome to stay if they want. If Rob is willing to take them, but just not the right fit for where we're going.
got it.
Lynn, who's the best performer on your team?
Did you
Is
say
it-
Glenn or Lynn?
I said Lynn, who's the best
Oh.
performer?
Best performer, person that puts everything into it. I'd say there's 3 that put everything into it, and one is a part-timer. Caesar's definitely the rock star. Definitely. He's just,
Is he gonna be the top producer or no?
he could be, right now he is.
Okay,
Yep, right now he is. And I think easily can double in the next quarter what he's already done this year.
that's
He's,
both
and I
great
think the
great
military
and
thing is,
a little bit surprising, because you have some people that have been in the business a long time.
oh yeah,
I'm sure that ruffles their feathers, huh?
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean,
I do get the question from one in particular on the team a lot. How is Caesar doing it? I don't understand how how his deals are closing and mine aren't. And the answer is consistency and drive.
yeah. So look, I guess for the third quarter, I would have a conversation with everybody on the team saying, look, part of the way I judge my success is by how well my team does. I'm going to leave everything on the field, but I want to know what you're committed to, because you can be committed to excuses and reasons, or you can be committed to discipline and results, right? You can't be committed to both, right? And if they keep going, oh, I hope someday I get my break, run from those people. Right? Glenn, someday I'm going to get a break, just like Tim,
Yeah, exactly.
but that's the mentality where they feel victimized. And don't be like, I'd say, for all of us, like, don't be afraid to do what Glenn's doing. I'm not just, putting you on a pedestal, Glenn, but I think getting rid of people is part of the process, right? If you don't pull your weeds out, then it looks okay for everybody else to say, hey, I can be a laggard.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and I certainly didn't pull the trigger fast, Rob. Like I'm way behind where I should have been on this. And every call, I'm like poison. Like I just say that to myself every time. And so trust me, I'm not I'm not cutting edge on it. I'm probably a year behind what I should have done, right?
But
Oh,
better late than never, Glenn, right? And hopefully it's a lesson learned, right? Because a lot of times kids have to touch the hot stove to feel the burn. And now that you feel the burn, maybe going forward, you're gonna realize that it's not even good for that person, right?
Yep.
It's not good to let them hang around. Mr. Golden, are you able to talk? Are you in the middle of stuff? All right, we'll go to Gopi. Michael, you're in a similar situation. I hope you drive safe, okay? But you have one rock star, and you're on mute.
Yes, I got a lot of rock stars now. Since I came back from that family emergency, my team is fully engaged. Probably have like 4 rock stars right now. We're ready. That home seminar that we did really motivated the whole team. I mean, it was a powerful event. They really locked in and engaged, and I mean, I want to close this year out strong, and I think that the market is starting to pick up. A lot of our listings were just sitting. We had like 10 listings with no showings. Now we're getting continuous showings on these listings, contracts. So feel really good where everything is heading right now. Truly.
So Michael, you know, I know your team well. I care about their success, but I think that Q3 is about performance and results.
100%.
If you can't perform or you don't come up with the results, it's like someday, you know, I'll get my opportunity or I'm waiting for my break. Well, run from those folks. You give them a clear message. Tell everybody, look, you have 30 days. If you don't have anything, if you haven't closed on a transaction in the last quarter, which you may have 1 or 2 people, right?
Yes.
Then tell them, look, you know, you have till the end of July to get a purchase or a listing under contract or a listing signed up and on the market at a reasonable price, or you know, you need to pay a insurmountable monthly fee, or at least what we pay, like the 263, and they'll self cleanse, right?
100%. 100%.
And what you're doing is you're just, you know, you're stopping the pattern. It's a pattern interrupt, right? And Jenny had a pattern interrupt when she lost her job and she went on fire, right?
She's on fire because she's full time. I truly believe in this business. You have to be full time. That part time story with the 20 million is that guy is special because that's a rare, it's 1 in a billion. You have to be full time in this business to kill it. And yeah, since she became full time, she's dominating. Truly.
Well, and Michael, I think what the Glenn story represents is you can be full time doing things that don't matter, and it won't add up to a part time person who's doing all the right activities with the right mindset.
True.
Okay, so for you to say you have to be full time, I think is a little bit limiting. But I think if you're willing to do the high impact activities consistently, it doesn't matter if you're not full time. Okay, Bobby, you have your hand up. I see.
Yes, and I apologize, Rob. My phone is not very responsive this morning. So I did, when you originally asked me to chime in, I've been trying to get off of mute since then. So I'm sorry.
You know, is there anything that you and Mr. Durso are going to do differently in Q4? I see we've a couple of people have attrition that probably belonged out, right?
Yes, that part's worked out, took care of itself. So we're not complaining. We're just going to try to get our agents back to the office a little bit more frequently. That's the one boogaboo that Bob and I share is we're just a little bit frustrated with, and our agents are doing fine. They could always do better, but we're happy with what they're doing. But we just really would like them to get to the office a little bit more frequently.
All right, so I'm going to go 2 minutes overtime. If you got to, Glenn, if you got to run or anybody, Bobby, what about if you were to take the ones that aren't meeting the minimum standard, right? And just tell them, look, you know, we need to do something a little bit different. Either you need to come into the office 2 days a week, or you need to pay the freight that we're covering for you. Gives them an option, right? And it can't be, you know, if there's 7 of them, it can't be 2 of them coming on Monday and Thursday at 1 and 3, and 3 of them come in at 9 o'clock on Tuesday and Friday, right? You need to have, these are the hours, you know, maybe it's 2, maybe you have 3 days a week that you're Rob are available for 2 hours. And it's not 2 hours of constant, coaching and training, but it's make sure they're in the building, investigate what they're doing, and then be a coach, right? Because I'm sure, at least I believe that you and Rob are in the office quite a bit, correct?
Every day.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a huge burden for you to say on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, from 9 to 11, I want to see you here 2 days a week. I want to see you doing whatever those activities are. I want to be able to help you. And if you're not able to do that and you're not performing at a minimum level where they're not costing you money, then they have to start to make a bigger contribution by writing a check. And if they're not willing to do either of those, then we need to be prepared to move on. Do you like that or no?
Well, I can't say it would work with the group of people that I have, but I'll talk to Bob and I'll try to come up with
Okay,
some-
when you say you don't think it'll happen with the group you have, can I go a level deeper? Why?
they're not writing any checks.
Right, but you automatically assume that they're not going to come in,
Valid point. Valid point.
right? My instinct is that everybody that's committed would start coming in, and your instinct was they're not going to write checks, which means they're not going to do the work. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have somebody that does, he's an appraiser, you have somebody that's doing this, right? But if you really care about them, you need to get some leverage on them. And the only way you get leverage on them is say, hey, come in, it's more work for you, and Mr. Durso to make yourself available during those 2 hours and check in with them. But I think you're both willing to do it.
All right.
Well, I think I'm a testament to that because when we've had our discussions, right, I've put people back where they had to pay the full monthly, or I reduced them by 20% on their commission rate. Then they stuck with the team and then started to perform as soon as I did it. And they're at that rate, right? So I thought it would be impossible. I'd lose them, they'd go, and I was just like, you know what? All they're doing is costing me money. I have to give them a kick in the pants to see what they're going to do, and the only person that's losing is me. And I did that with 3 different agents on the team over the last 1 year, and it worked in every instance.
Yeah, I remember, rest his soul, John Cosgrove, you went to him and said, look, John, you need to do, was it 2 a quarter?
Yep.
And, for most of my accounting, every time I took a look at it, he was doing probably 3, maybe 4.
Yep.
And when I asked him, it was because, hey, I want to make sure I don't fall below 2. So he got a spare or 2.
Yeah, I think that part of it's we're kind of eternal optimists as salespeople, and we're always optimistic about what people will do, unless there's some kind of day of reckoning. I don't know that there's a way to do it. Like I was telling the story this weekend. I keep my hair short because my mom was a hair puller. I'm actually going to write a book called My Mom Was a Hair Puller. I'm not kidding. But to this day, I keep it short, right? Because it left such an impression that if I did something wrong, I would get my hair pulled and I'd go in that direction. So, it's kind of like the hair pull, right? You gotta let people know that this isn't free and your time isn't free and it matters. And I didn't feel that value until last year. And then I realized how much better we did as a business once I made the decision. And it sucked. I mean, as a team leader, there was no easy way around it. That conversation was terrible, but then it turned out to be really good.
And Glenn, what's your most prolific saying?
Accountability is love.
And I totally believe like that's something that it's so powerful, right? Because it's easy to let them be, and it's difficult to have those confrontations and hold them accountable. And I think true leaders also have to be prepared to pull the Band-Aid off and separate from people who aren't committed, right? And I will bet when you amp up the accountability and you see how uncommitted one of your team members are, you're going to thank Glenn and thank me for kind of bringing that to the front and center, because you're drinking too much hopium. You're hoping that they're going to change, but it's not. All right. Appreciate, as always, your commitment to this, and Mr. Texera, if you want to hang on for a minute, I just wanted to see what I can do to assist you. When everybody leaves, are you cool hanging on an extra minute?
Me? Yes.
You got it. He's not in trouble. I want to help, all right? Just so everybody knows. Bye, everybody else.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thanks.
good week.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Take
Thank
care.
Bye-bye.